So in this video, we're going to talk about Cliff Roquemore's film, Petey Wheatstraw. This is a Rudy Ray Moore film. It is a 1977 Blaxploitation film with a supernatural twist. In that, this guy named Petey Wheatstraw, who is a comedian and martial arts master, played by Rudy Ray Moore as an adult. There's a couple of other portrayals of him in there. Danny Poinson plays young Petey Wheatstraw, and Clifford Roquemore II plays baby Petey Wheatstraw. But basically, he is a comedian and martial arts master who decides that he is going to do a show in Los Angeles. And this is a problem for a couple of guys named Leroy and Skillet. Because they have just gotten a whole bunch of money from Mr. White to put on their own show. And the plan is that it's the off-season, there's nothing else going on, so they're going to put on this show, and it's going to be like a variety show, and it's going to draw tons and tons of people in, and it's going to run for a long time, it's going to make a ton of money for everybody involved. Mr. White, who is actually the only... Mr. White and his goons are the only Caucasian characters in there, and they're these sort of like gangster figures. I guess his wife and sister-in-law are in the movie as well, and they're white as well. But they're these sort of gangster-type figures. The whole sort of shtick is, all right, Leroy and Skillet, we're giving you this large amount of money. We expect a good profit back. And if not, consequences be coming, right? So this is the whole setup. Leroy and Skillet then learn that Petey Wheatstraw is going to do a show starting the day after their show opens. So this is competition, and everybody's going to go see Petey's show because he's so amazingly good, whereas their show really sort of depended on there not being any competition whatsoever in order for it to be profitable. So they decide that they are basically going to try and intimidate Petey and his entourage into canceling the show. So they, I guess, just send some random dudes to like steal bits off of Petey's car. He then chases these random dudes down, beats them up, and makes them fix his car. Personally, I don't know that I would trust those guys to reassemble my car, but hey, you know what? They do it under Petey's supervision, so hey, cool, whatever, man. That does not work. Petey's basically like, yeah, I'm still doing my show. Whatevs. And so they send a guy named Scarface Willie. He goes to intimidate Ted and his little brother, Larry. They don't really go to intimidate Larry. They go to intimidate Ted, who is Petey's sort of assistant or associate or something like this. And Larry just happens to be there because he had been going around helping Ted put up posters for Petey's show. In the course of intimidating Ted at his house, Larry is shot and killed. So they've now, Scarface Willie has now shot and killed a kid, which he does not seem that bothered by, except for the fact that Petey is not going to stop the show. Like, it doesn't achieve the objective. So, Scarface Willie and his associates go with a Tommy gun, with a submachine gun. They go and basically murder everybody at Larry's funeral, including Petey and Ted and Ted and Larry's mother and family members, etc., etc. So everybody just gunned down. Total carnage. The priest is killed. Everybody done. Petey, who's the only one that we follow into the afterlife, Petey ends up in hell So there's this sort of weird thing because this guy, his business cards say Lucifer, it's Lucifer, the devil. He shows up to the scene of this massacre. He's like, Petey Wheatstraw, stand up. I got a proposition for you. And then they end up in hell. And Lucifer is basically like, listen, man, I really need a son. So, if you marry my repulsively hideous daughter and have sex with her so that I will have a son, I will bring not only you back to life, but everybody who is at this funeral. I will bring them all back to life. I don't even care. Throw them all in there. Package deal. And you get to go and take your revenge on Leroy and Skillet. Petey is on the fence about taking this deal because it's the devil, and he is aware that when you make a deal with the devil, it usually does not work out well for you. So Petey is reluctant, let's say. But he hears the voice of his childhood mentor, Bantu. And Bantu is the one who taught him martial arts. He taught him to be wise, to use his wisdom to achieve his goals. And so Petey decides that the wise thing to do is to take this deal with the devil, agree to marry the devil's hideously repulsive daughter. This becomes a major plot point. It's a main reason why Petey wants to get out of this deal ultimately, and to father a son for the devil. Technically, it would be grandson, but that's a sort of minor issue here. So he agrees to do this. The devil brings everybody back to life. Petey supposedly is the only one who remembers what's happened, but he kind of doesn't fully remember everybody getting murdered. But Ted is also like, hey, what happened? I thought we all just got murdered. And Petey's like, don't even worry about it. I'll explain everything later. So apparently Ted also remembered. But nobody else seems to have remembered them all getting brutally gunned down. Except Scarface Willie and his associates who did the actual murdering. So they're incredibly surprised, confused, and shocked when Petey Wheatstraw shows up, suspiciously undead, considering that they literally murdered him with a machine gun, or submachine gun, technically. So this happens. Leroy and Skillet send their minions to make various attempts to, again, impress upon Petey that he should not be doing the show, that he should just sort of let it go, etc., so that they can make their money back. Petey, and to a lesser extent his dudes, beat up these random minions repeatedly. And at one point the devil, who calls Petey on the phone a number of times, is like, hey, if you go to this graveyard at night under an old tire, you will find my cane. That will give you all of my powers. You can use it as you want. This turns out to have been a slight error of calculation on the devil's part, because Petey does use the cane to defeat Leroy and Skillet, etc., so that all works out. Then the devil's like, hey man, time to go get married to my daughter. And Petey is like... So Petey comes up with this plan to beat the devil. Classic, like, Faustian bargain, I want to get out of this deal I've made with the devil type stuff, right? They decide that they're going to find a random alcoholic on the street, kidnap him, put him in a mask designed to look exactly like Petey Wheatstraw, exactly like Rudy Ray Moore. They're going to tell the devil that he has gone into deep meditation prior to his wedding, and that they should just go ahead with the wedding. Don't even worry about it. Petey will wake up from his meditation at some point. Just, have the wedding. Don't even bother about it. This plan is going swimmingly. Two demons come along to take Petey Wheatstraw. They take this random drunk off the street in a Rudy Ray Moore mask, and they're driving along when the drunk wakes up from what they have drugged him with, and he rips this mask off, and he's like, I'm scared because there's demons. And so the devil realizes that he's been tricked, and devil don't like being tricked. That's a standard characteristic of the devil in these types of stories. So he sends a bunch of demons to go and get Petey Wheatstraw, beat up all of his friends, etc., etc. This is where things start to go sideways for the devil, because Petey Wheatstraw still has the cane, and so Petey uses it to defeat these demons. And basically, he and Nell, who's his sort of girlfriend, assistant, head, Steve, I think, is the other guy. This just group of them, the sort of inner circle of Petey Wheatstraw's professional career, they're trying to get out of the city, because apparently if you get out of LA, the devil can't get you. The plan is not well thought out, we'll put it that way, but the idea is that they're going to get some sort of transportation out of LA, and then the devil won't be able to find them. The devil manages to find them, he sort of surrounds them, he manages to kidnap Nell, or his demons manage to kidnap Nell, and basically they're like, hey, Petey, surrender, come marry the devil's daughter, or we kill Nell. Petey goes up to confront the demons and the devil, and he defeats them all with the power of the cane and his martial arts abilities. Nell is freed, but then Petey kills the devil, right? He thinks he kills the devil, at least. The devil, he uses the power of the cane, the devil lights on fire, Petey throws him off the roof to the ground, the devil burns up. Petey goes down, gets in a car that he thinks is his friend's, that he thinks Steve is driving, and who should be there but the devil, couple random demons, and the devil's daughter. And Petey's like, no! And the movie ends. Right? So, it's an interesting movie. It's an interesting sort of take on the Faustian bargain type story, right? Because Faustian bargain is a sort of generic term for making a deal with the devil in order to get something that you want. And I think one of the things that's really interesting about the film is actually sort of the interval between when Petey defeats Leroy and Skillet and when the devil shows up and is like, listen, man, time to collect, right? Time to go marry my hideous daughter. Because we have this sort of montage of Petey just walking around the streets of LA with this devil's cane and just doing good works, right? I say good works, good-ish works in some cases, right? So there's this dude who's cheating on his wife, and she's gonna stab him with a knife because he's cheating on her and she's not pleased. And Petey shows up and he's like, whoa, don't kill him. Let me give you one wish. What do you want to happen to him? And she's like, turn him into a small dog. And Petey does. Whether that qualifies as good works or not, I'm not entirely sure. That is a question for an ethics specialist, I think. But I suppose if the question was, you can be knifed to death in the street, or you can be turned into a small dog, I probably would be turned into a small dog. So, I guess that's fair. It's a good work in that sense. But he saves a kid from getting hit by a car. He makes it rain money. He does these good things for the community and the individuals in the community, right? And he does this with the power of the devil, right? Because it's the devil's cane. He has control of the devil's cane, and so he is doing all of these good work with the power of the devil. And I'm interested in this for a couple of reasons. One is that in Christopher Marlowe's Dr. Faustus, I think it's Marlowe's Dr. Faustus, one of the things that Faust does is he just like does these random nonsense things, right? Like I think he goes and he messes with the Pope's sandwich or something like this. Like it's these really just like dumb, petty, basic things. And here we have sort of the opposite of that, but we have this weird interval in the middle of these two elements of the conflict. The conflict with Skillet and Leroy is finished. The conflict with the devil has yet to really sort of start ramping up. So we have this intermedial period between these two conflicts in which Petey just gets to go and do whatever he wants for a short period of time because he has the power to do it, and there is nothing that constrains him, that would prevent him from doing it. And so that's a very interesting structure. The other thing that I find really interesting about it is typically in these kinds of stories, the devil's power always comes at a price. Right there, and there's some sort of larger, within the sort of larger schema of fantasy, there are some texts, movies, books, TV shows, whatever it is, in which magic always comes with a price. So the TV show Once Upon a Time, for instance, comes back to this refrain all the time, right? This idea that if you do supernatural things, it is not simple and straightforward. There is a complicated ethical dimension that cannot be predicted. A lot of jinn stories or genie stories have the same kind of problem, right? Like you wish for a particular thing and it does not turn out the way that you anticipated. What is striking about Petey Wheatstraw as a film is that it abandons that conceptualization, right? There's no sense that, like, if Petey makes it rain money, there is no downside to that for the people on whom that money is raining. So this is not like it's raining money. Okay, where does that money come from? Like, because that money might have come from a robbery or something like that. And so now anybody who tries to spend it is going to be arrested for trying to spend stolen money, something like this, right? That's completely absent here. Petey Wheatstraw just gets to go around and do good works with the power of the devil, which is striking because the whole shtick with the devil is kind of supposed to be he is pure evil, right? He is everything that is bad and wrong in the world, and yet his power can, seemingly without repercussion, be repurposed for good. And so it raises these sort of interesting ethical questions about the nature of power, the nature of evil, what it means that the devil is demonized when the devil's power is in and of itself seemingly neutral, right? It can be used for good, it can be used for evil. And so that's a really striking sort of theological problem that the film doesn't fully grapple with.